Hi, this is Callie, and this is Wax Talk by Perron Rigot, and I am Callie Van Elst, National Training Director for Perron Rigot, and today we have ASCP, which is Associated Skincare Professionals, and we have Maggie with us. Maggie,
Hi, Callie.
introduce yourself. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. Really happy to be here with you.
I'm so glad you're here, and we have talked before, just in case people don't know, but we've never had a face-to-face, so we're both super excited for today. So tell us who you are and what you do.
I am the Education Program Manager for Associated Skincare Professionals, and I wear many hats, but my job really is about curating all of the content, the education, the resources that ASCP members have at their disposal. So that's going to be things like business building tools, our videos, if we are having any kind of live education summit, all of our speakers, so things along those lines. It's really exciting.
I mean, I just know from my own personal experience that you guys are just a wealth of knowledge. Anytime people ask for anything, whether it's forms or insurance, I'm like, it's the go-to, right? Like, it's just, you guys have everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, thank you.
Yeah. So what we're talking about today is waxing and liability insurance. And my question is for the estheticians and even cosmetologists that are listening, maybe, if you are, maybe you work in a salon, maybe you have your own suite, whatever it is that you do you need liability insurance?
Yeah, such a good question. And the answer is yes, 100%. And so many times we hear estheticians or cosmetologists to that point think and say, these are my best friends that I'm treating, that I'm waxing, and they would never sue me. I don't need insurance. But truly, if something does go wrong, that client is going to expect you to cover those costs and pay for it. So 100% you need to cover yourself.
Like, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong, right?
Well, and that's the question, right? What could go wrong? And I think sometimes estheticians get a little bit jaded. They think that the services they're performing, and especially waxing, is not invasive. But ASCP has about 250 active open claims in any given month. And waxing actually is our number one claim. And that could be things like bruising or tears to the skin. And then when we start getting into some of our more serious treatments, like chemical peels, for instance, or even laser, certainly you could have some more aggressive things to the client. And we've even had freak accidents. We've had clients catch on fire, for instance. That's one of those stories we love to share.
I am telling you, I have been an esthetician. I mean, I'm showing my age, but I mean, it is, 25 years. And I am still, to this day, I hear stories where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that's possible that get You just don't know. You just don't know.
So true.
One of the questions that I get often, because I talk about liability insurance in my classes, so we here at Perron Rigot for Sierra Pill Wax, we have online education, in-person hands-on training, and one of the things we always talk about is insurance and making sure that you have coverage for yourself. But a question that I get time and time again is that, especially for people who are working for a business, right? Maybe it is a corporate business. Maybe it's just a single standing salon or a spa, or maybe they just have a couple locations and they say, I don't need insurance because the business is covered. So what's your answer to that? Do they need coverage if the business is already covered?
Yeah, we always advise, even if your employer is covering you, that you still have your own policy, because so many times maybe that employer isn't paying on time, or you may not be listed individually. And if you are sued and named individually, that policy may not cover you. Or even worse, it could be that that policy is not covering you for all the services that you're performing. So having your own policy is giving you peace of mind and making sure that you're covered if there is an accident.
Okay, so what you just said is kind of standing out to me right now. You said to make sure that all the services that you are providing are covered by your insurance. So, for example, in the waxing world, we do a lot of Brazilian waxing. So, is that something that they need extra coverage for? Do they need to make sure they have coverage for that?
Yeah, so knowing your scope of practice is huge because it's possible things like Brazilian, for instance, may not be in your scope of practice. So the policy is going to cover you as long as you are working within your state scope. So knowing what that is, knowing rules and regulations, and making sure that you're practicing legally is very important.
Okay, so there are going to be estheticians, I know already, who are going to ask us, what does that mean? What does scope of practice mean? Because for you and I, this is just a common, it's like, secondhand to us, but some people they don't know what that means. So what does it mean when we talk about check your own state's rules and regulations, make sure you're working within your scope of practice? What does scope of practice mean?
Right. Yeah, we use those terms all the time, but an esthetician maybe doesn't quite know. And so it's just that. It's reaching out to your state board, knowing the rules and regulations. In other words, what are you allowed to do and not allowed to do? So if you're in California, those rules may be different for somebody who's living the next state over in Arizona or in Colorado. So you need to be following the rules as written by the state. And even though our insurance is nationwide, from state to state, your rules are going to vary. So you need to follow the rules of that state and be practicing legally according to the state that you're operating within.
Exactly. That's awesome. And I'm sure that holds true, especially these days, right? With medical skincare practices and, so many advanced treatments that are being done in the treatment room. People need to really make sure they have the right coverage. Where do they get liability insurance? Where do they go to get it if they want the insurance?
Yeah. Well, yeah, ASCP, of course. And we always explain we are not an insurance company, we're an association. But one of the benefits of joining the association is that you're getting insurance that covers you for all the modalities that you're practicing, again, within your state scope.
Awesome. That's really, really good. So with this podcast, what's so great is that we can offer the listeners a discount on the insurance. If they choose to get liability insurance for themselves, they can go to the ASCP website, which is ascpskincare.com/Perron Rigot. And for listening to our podcast today, you will get $20 off your liability insurance for the year. And I just have to say that originally, years ago, when I got my own liability insurance, I was just, kind of procrastinating because I'm like, everything's expensive. And when you are a business owner, especially in aesthetics, it is, it's a lot. And so you're thinking, that's going to be really expensive. But I just have to say, it's very reasonable. You can get coverage for the whole year for a very, very reasonable cost.
Yeah, ASCP is $259 for the year, and that's giving you insurance for professional services that you're performing, plus you're getting general liability coverage as well as product liability coverage. So if there's any reaction to the products you're retailing or applying, and again, that general liability coverage, that's going to be like slip, trip, and fall. So it's excellent coverage for all those basic aesthetic services that you're doing, including those waxing procedures.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I used to work for a very, very large spa, and I will say we were lucky, knock on wood, we didn't have a lot of issues. But back in the day, I would say that if there was an issue, it was, people did more like sue the business and not the individual esthetician. But more and more I am hearing, and I don't know if it's from, the attorney's point of view or what is happening, but more and more I am hearing that it's the business, but also the esthetician. And I just think that the liability insurance is even more important today than it ever has been. It's just, I don't know. It's, it's one of those things that it's, in hindsight, if something happens, you're going to kick yourself and be like, oh, why didn't I do that? But I think that just being safe and protecting yourself is really, really valuable. So yeah, absolutely. Do you have any other points that you want to make?
Well, going back to that point, Callie, like we were saying, so important to have your own coverage because the individual esthetician is being sued, even if you are working under your employer's coverage. That employer's coverage is not necessarily going to protect you, depending on the incident. But having your own coverage is your own peace of mind that you're protected and covered. It's not going to prevent a client from suing you, but it's going to extend that coverage.
I have a question in talking about that. Do you let your clients know that you have coverage?
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's not a secret. There are estheticians that, post their certificate of insurance on the wall, and some states may even require.
I had no idea. Wow. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so, yeah, certainly let them know. I think there are people that are a little bit maybe afraid to do so or cynical about it, thinking, well, if I'm telling my client I have insurance, then they're going to want to sue me, which is not the way to look at it. You're a professional business as an independent contractor or a solopreneur. And so certainly it shows that you're professional, you've set yourself up right, and your client should know that you're protected.
Fantastic. I will say also for the listeners, if you guys hop onto their website, the ASCPskincare.com, like we kind of just mentioned a little bit, that is where you can go to get your insurance. But also, I mean, you guys have everything on there. If you need education, if you have, I mean, I think I even saw there was like a rental car discount. I swear there is like almost anything you could possibly need for your business. I know for the forms too, I've created my own forms, but for, waivers and different forms that you need for your clients, I know you guys have those as well. And it's a great place to start. I always say, start there and then create your own. But it's just, having that place to start, I think really helps, because sometimes it's the number one thing I get from estheticians when I have education. They're always asking, I need forms. And for so long, I'm just like, you can just create your own. And then finally, I'm like, you know what? Hop over to ASCP because they are there to help you. And so it's just, you guys are a wealth of knowledge. So this has been really good, and we are just so glad that you were here to talk to us today. And hopefully, I really hope that people hop over to you and get some insurance and make sure that they're safe and covered, and take advantage of the $20 off. This is a great deal. Also, for this podcast, you guys can hop on to Cerepill.com and enjoy a promo code to get 30% off a one-time order. It is up to $300, so it's a huge, generous offer. It does not include any promotional items, but just go to Cerepill.com, and it is PR Podcast 30 is the promo code. And these promo codes and deals, they should be like in the show notes, so you guys can check them out. But it's just every podcast we like to give away a little something, because I feel like we just want to help support our estheticians and their businesses,
Yeah, that's awesome. You can't beat a deal.
I know,
right?
Especially 30% off. It's like a big one. We don't usually do it that big. Where are you located, Maggie, yourself? Like, where's your office?
We are in Genesee, Colorado. So we're just in the foothills of the mountains in Colorado here. But we are offering coverage and business building resources to everyone nationwide.
Are you guys being having a lot of snow? Are you is it that time yet?
We have had some snow. Yeah, we're starting to get there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. I've learned some things, and I hope the people that are listening have learned as well. And I hope you have a really fantastic day and a good holiday. We're getting into that season.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for
having me. My pleasure as well.
Enjoy
your day.